Okay. So I put I tried one more time, messed up, but looking online because I don't want to waste a ton of time trying to figure this one out. It is important that the thing he's holding is rectangular and not pointy like a knife. So this right here we have to present the autopsy report, which I just attempted to do but on the wrong statement. Which you'll see in a minute why if you haven't gotten it already. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? Well, that would be the square knife. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife that the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Not really, it just looks like he's holding a ruler. In fact, you don't even have to look closely to see that. But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body. It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. Huh? Where could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Oh! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right, but what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that this broken knife might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. I was not given forged evidence. Order, order, order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me once again to go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there's a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Knives don't break very often. Another broken knife beside Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? There's another one, I think. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright, in that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. I think it's the unstable jar? Perhaps? Let's try it. If anything's broken here, it's you. Huh? I'm sure this all must be very amusing to you, Mr. Wright. May I remind you that the... Oh, dang it. Sorry, Your Honor. I was just joking. Is it Edgeworth's knife? What else do we have that was broken? A screwdriver? It's sort of like a broken knife, but, you know, not really. I don't have a whole lot of options. I don't have a whole lot of chances left. Let's see. Oh, whoops. Okay, hold on. Hold on. It's right here. See the broken knife attached to the shield? That's what we need. Forgot about that. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is the picture of the award ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the picture was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood this award. Did he stab him with an award? Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and broken knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh! Whoops. But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Hold it! Wait! I remember now. I remember everything. Witness? Mr. Edgeworth? What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back. I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us about what you've recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger? This should be interesting. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw a shadow. So I'm assuming it's something else that looks like the blue badger. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The head detective of criminal affairs didn't even design him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further. Lana, what's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to this crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. When I saw that man raise his knife... whoops. Probably should press that. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you... I panicked and rushed towards both of them. Not the best idea, but understandable. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time, when that Dark guy knocked me down. All I could think was, I've got to help Mr. Marshall. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. In a matter of just a few seconds, Miss Sky was almost killed. Then she witnessed a murder about to take place. A little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I know I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next? Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Yeah, well, how did you see that? Are you sure about this? Of course. See? I even drew a picture of him here. But the head detective of criminal affairs thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw a shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face? With its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had these 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. The thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? And And I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger really? I just might know. Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamed up when Emma saw this picture. Yet, she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright? In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious Blue Badger look-alike. Oh god, I have no idea. I'm thinking, is it this thing? But I'm not sure the little head bits turn enough, like if you're looking at it dead on. You know, someone threw the vase or something, right? Does the head things curl enough? I'm not sure. That being said, I'm not entirely sure we have anything else that's, quite as close to looking like that. I'm gonna present it. If I'm wrong, then I'm gonna look it up. Ah, yes, excellent. The mysterious Blue Badger was, in fact, this. But that's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. See, I'm pretty sure it's like this. Maybe? Or maybe at an angle somehow. Maybe like this? Yeah, it's about as close as we're gonna get, I think. This isn't right. I've got to make it look more like the Badger. Allow me to remind the defense its case hinges on the witness's drawing. Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew. We cannot accept his claim. I've got to find just the right angle. Maybe I should rotate it vertically a bit more, horizontally. Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it. I've got to show them. Okay, that wasn't right. I thought that would be right. I thought that would be about right. Maybe the other way? Yeah, I guess they do curl a little bit from this angle. Okay. That's probably about what we want. Well, is this a miracle or what? Wow, that's pretty good. No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger. No, it can't be. Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. Is the whole Blue Badger thing just coincidental? Or what? I guess maybe after he tore it off, he's like, oh, that's a good design. I should make that into our police mascot that everyone hates. The mysterious Blue Badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Objection! Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that Badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? The murder weapon. Or maybe the murderer. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. Not only that, but she saw it at a very specific angle. Knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Which, is like the same room, but anyway, yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? No! I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. Is it because Emma was the actual murderer? I bet it is. It's too late to quit now, though. Please, recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have had to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the prosecutor's award. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking... Yes, there's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless... I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Stab! Wow. Good job, murderer. Gasp. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. Objection! What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe in your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Have to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove with this evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean, the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Maybe he wrote it upside down on the wall behind him. Somehow. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind. It better exist or we're screwed. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There's only one thing we seek. The truth! The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that you definitely have that conveys a message from the deceased. Let's see, what do we have? I mean, the strip of cloth does have Emma's prints, which is weird, of course. I'm sure that'll come up at some point. I'm not entirely sure, however, this is a victim's memento found in the car trunk that says SL9. And that's honestly, I think, like the only evidence that we really have, to be honest. I'm going to present it, and if it's not that, then we'll just have to look up the rest of the stuff from now on. This is the message from the deceased. Right. Now then, this is the message from the judge. Oh, I guess that wasn't right. If a dead person left behind a message, it would have to be in written form. That's the only logical conclusion. You better be careful, you might wind up deceased yourself. Let's try this again. Okay. So we're going to pull it up, because I don't want to mess that up. Let's see. Right, okay, I forgot about this bit. Okay. So let's take a look at the jar really quick. And I think if I remember right, I don't know if it'll show us a better picture. Yeah, it looked like somebody tried to write something, but it was like wiped off. And only the fragment that he had in the safe still had stuff written on it. So this is what I need to present. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood in this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yes, there's a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Gotta connect these dots to make the letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. The murderer's name. Alright. So of course, this is pretty easy to do. Ta-da! It's a defense attorney's duty to prove his client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Not talking now, are you? The jury's silent. Seaworthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Ugh. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. Oh my god! What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. Well, was he innocent, really? How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. To be continued! Get out of my courtroom, you rapscallions! Let's see, about an hour in. I'm gonna try for another one. We'll do one more. I'm not gonna do all three.